And hi, Nika from NWU, studying consumer science as a master's student. Hi, Shannon, who's studying an MSc in genetics from UP. Sounds exciting. And Bianca from Potchefstroom, studying her 3rd year in tourism and zoology. Onesimo, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, studying CTA at UJ. Welcome. And Zia Fenta, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, from Stellenbosch, studying 2nd year BA Humanities. And then Juanita, studying theology, just finished your master's degree. And then Priyanka at WITS, studying your master's in mathematics. Okay, hi Tracy.
Hi.
Starting presenting.
I'll turn on my camera shortly.
Okay, perfect, no worries.
So to whoever is on the chat so far, when you just make sure your Zoom is named with your name. So, and not sort of someone else's computer that you're using, etc.
Yeah. So there's Tim, who's 4th year at University of Botswana, studying BA in political science and sociology. Marianne, studying tourism and hospitality in the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. Carla, studying law at Pretoria University. Then Delwa, studying honors degree in political science at University of the Free State. Tamara, 1st year of your PhD in forensic anthropology at WITS. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Tracy, do you want to start? Well, I'll start the webinar now. So I do just want to say thank you to everyone for joining.
Okay, everyone. Hi, let me turn on. I was just, nice to meet you. I was just reading, it was really useful for me to see the messages coming in. So thank you, and keep sending them. I've got a pretty good feel. So my name is Tracy Ashington, and I have, so a bit about my background. Interestingly, I studied speech and drama after school, and then went to London, which was a great choice because I was clearly not going to make a lot of money as a dancer or an actress. I went to London, and while I was there, I ended up helping a lady who was doing graduate recruitment at a bank called Lehman Brothers, and I was sort of doing filing. And then she grew ill, or became ill, and they put me in, so a farm girl in London, put me in charge of the European graduate program. And we used to fax in those days. So I kind of fell into it, and from then on, once I moved back, I've always been in the HR space, but specifically in recruitment, more specifically in graduate recruitment, because I enjoy spending time on campus and working with students in terms of finding grad programs. And then I was at Rand Merchant Bank for 10 years. So Lehman Brothers 10 years, and then Rand Merchant Bank for 10 years. And then 3 years ago, I left Rand Merchant Bank. And now, so my decision to go on my own in terms of consulting was, when you work for a company, you always, you're advising people around their careers and so on, but you have the sort of, I mean, ultimately you're wanting to hire them for that company. Whereas becoming a coach now independently and not affiliated with any organization, I can be really honest and say that company is great, or that one really stinks. So I'm just working out here. I want to, it's like I want to see myself. So Amy, is the lighting better?
Hi, yes, it is a little bit
Okay.
better.
A little bit, not great. Hold on. So I'm going to try something. Let me just do this. I mean, can you believe it in this day and age? I mean, like we literally have like remotes. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off. Okay. All right. So what I'd love is that better, right? What I'd love, guys, is if there's somebody who is in a position where they are applying for jobs and having no luck, whether it's no response, whether it's not invited to an interview, whether it's going to an interview and not getting through, but somebody who is sort of comfortable speaking and will be my guinea pig. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to work on a sort of a project plan for you guys, and the project being a strategy for your career. So instead of, up until now, you guys would have followed the normal, see an ad, click it, apply, no one ever gets back to you. Or an algorithm screens you out, you don't even know because you don't hear from anyone. And then the other thing is, so whether it be LinkedIn or whether it be going on their website and they say sign up on our portal and you never hear anything back. Some people even sort of send their CVs and so on to a recruiter in an organization and they don't hear back either. So the model that I'm going to share with you is it's a structure whereby you can make sure that they come back to you. I so often say that, when I'm coaching someone, they'll say, I never heard back from them. And I'll be like, well, whose career is it? It's yours. Why didn't you follow up? So you'll see when I share the spreadsheet, a lot of what people are doing is what we think we should do when you're applying for a job. So it's not like people are just, being lazy or half-hearted about it. It's just that there's so much more you can do to stand out from the 3,000 others. And I'll share a personal story with you in this regard. So when I left Rand Merchant Bank, as I said, I was deciding go on my own. So I ended up being a career coach, but at one stage I thought I really wanted a job. And I tried, so I'm a career coach, so I should know how to do it. I applied for 19 jobs and I had one response and it was a decline. For the rest of the time, I've never heard back from the others. And I'm experienced, so you guys aren't alone. So so it is what it is. What they're going to do, the recruiters are going to do what they do. They're going to use whatever platform, whatever they're going to use. The only control you have is over the way you work it. All right, so I'm just going to turn off my video while I check here. Unless Amy, can you see if anyone has volunteered to be a guinea pig?
I'll ask in the comments. Please volunteer to be a guinea pig if you feel comfortable in the chat function below.
I did actually see one person, and if I can find it, so the gentleman was saying, I've been trying since 2019. Okay, got it. It is Tandeka. Tandeka, are you happy to be the guinea pig? I'm hoping so. Choose the gentleman. I'll listen. Oh, funny. Okay, Tandeka. So how are we going to work it now, guys? I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to open up on a Tandeka. I know I was just, I can tell you, lady, it was just that Carla said, choose the gentleman. I'll listen. So I'm going to share my screen. It's going to be an Excel spreadsheet. I'll actually send this out to you guys. It's really basic and you can do it yourselves, but it's quite nice to have. So I'll send this out to you guys as a template that you can use when creating your own job strategy. And I'll also, so I'm just going to close here and close there. And I'm also going to go back and forth between Google and LinkedIn. So you'll see what I'm going to do. So let me start. Just another thing. I'll leave my video off because I'm going to work on my computer and I don't want you having to look up my nose. Okay. So if anyone else wants to turn off, I mean, if anyone has their videos on and they want to turn them off, they're welcome. And then Tandeka, are you comfortable having your video on? And you can unmute.
Sorry,
okay,
Casey,
great.
attendees cannot put on their cameras or unmute.
Oh.
I will see if I can give Tandeka permission to unmute. Let's see if I can.
Otherwise, Natasha, what we'll do is you can be my guinea pig. Otherwise, Amy. Otherwise, we can work with Amy, of course. I'm sorry,
can be
I
a
didn't.
guinea pig if necessary.
Okay, cool. So let's see if we can give Tandeka the ability. Don't worry about the video, but if we can give her the ability to unmute, we'll proceed from there. In the meantime, I'm going to open this up.
Can we just test with Tandeka? Because I have given permission for Tandeka to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can,
Yeah,
Tandeka.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So, Tandeka, what you can do is you can stay muted for just so long as I'm speaking or whatever, because I'm worried about the sound. But I'll ask you lots of questions. So let's just kind of see how it works in terms of sound quality. Okay. So, all right, guys. So here we sit. Tandeka, I have a question. Whereabouts do you said, how many jobs have you been applying for?
I've been applying for jobs. It's a lot of them, but last year I decided to confidently upload my profile on LinkedIn. But I guess what I've put there, I've also followed certain companies that I'm interested to work for, which I'm not too sure whether it's good or bad. And then I've then started applying in different companies like I'm in the customer services environment. I graduated in 2009 with an honors degree in statistics. So I've been looking for jobs externally to grow my career in customer services. But unfortunately, I haven't received any response from the financial sector, energy sector, other companies. I currently work for Eskom. So yeah, okay. That's where I'm currently sitting, yes.
And where do you want to work?
You mean in terms of the area?
No, oh, sorry. I should have phrased that differently. What do you want to be doing? Let's start with that. What's your, I tell you what, what's your ideal role given for now? I mean, in years to come, your goals will be different, but from a career perspective now, what would be your absolutely ideal opportunity?
My ideal opportunity as I grow in the corporate world will be to service customers, you know, to be able to retain, to be able to sell the product to customers, to be able to give them the best service, and also be able to make sure that the customers are satisfied. And also for the company that I will work for, be able to increase the number of customers that opt to rather work with the company.
So I'm just going to clarify. So when you say that, is this you? No, Ndlela, is
Yes,
this
it's
is
me.
you, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So when you said, when I asked you what you want to do, the stuff that you were saying to me are things like you could do those things anywhere. So you're all about people, you're customer centric, you are you're good at increasing sales, but I mean you could be doing that at a bakery, you could be doing that at Apple because they keep changing and needing to sell stuff. I mean, so that's really generic. So I'm going to push you here. And so everyone else, as you're listening, this is how I would be running one of my career coaching sessions. So Thandeka, because of time, I'm going to go quick, and I'm going to ask you lots of questions. So straight away, so I want to know what you want to be doing. So tell me your ideal, not just what you'd settle for. I want to know your ideal job, and I want to know which companies. You can give me 3 companies you'd love to work for.
Okay, I will like to work for private companies.
Such as?
Sure. Such as banks.
Which
Having a senior
banks?
Nedbank, Standard Bank. And then also work for IT companies.
Such as?
What is that company? Dimensions Data.
Mm-hmm.
I will also want to be involved in where I could make an impact in terms of applying my statistics studies within the company.
Yes.
Where I will need to do analysis, drawing of reports, and also work for companies that also, since I have an experience in the energy sector, which is Eskom, I will also want to work for companies that are like independent power producers that will be bringing renewable energy to the country.
Yes, correct. Now you're on track. So my thoughts are a few things. First of all, you're saying you want to do, initially you said the job that you want to do is based on the fact that you think that's all you can get, okay? But it's not actually what you want to do. And then I was thinking, why on earth are you doing what you're doing when you've studied what you have? So there's a disconnect there. Then I was thinking, you're saying I'd like to work for a bank, or I'd like to this, I'd like to that. You don't really know. And that's why you aren't finding a job, because what happens is you go into this uncertain, and it's very hard to be convincing if you're uncertain. So that's the very first thing that it's good to know. You know, guys, if you like, so say for example, you have an idea of maybe a 3-year horizon of what you want to do. And if it's beyond that, that's fine. But I know, well, in fact, especially the people who are studying now, things change. So we're not saying this is your career strategy or for the rest of your life. We're saying find something, have something in mind for 3 to 5 years. Knowing that it helps a lot to make decisions now. So what you could do is say, all right, I need to study an extra year, and now it's bearable because I know where it's getting me. Or I need to stay where I am for a year because I'm studying part-time, they're paying for it, and then I don't want to have too much work from a new job while I'm studying. All of that stuff you then are at peace with because it fits into your ultimate strategy. But if you're unsure what that guiding light is, you scramble around, and that's a very unsettling place to be. And especially at, so now I'm talking to the people who are currently studying, what happens is you have this, you've studied for years to do a certain thing, and you have something in mind of what's ideal, and then you may apply for a few jobs and you're getting nowhere, so you settle for something else. So long as you know what you're doing in terms of settling, or it's like it's a temporary thing or whatever, so long as you know that that is heading you in the right direction. And it could be a simple thing like what you've been doing now. You're working out of your area of expertise. You have settled in your job compared to your studies. But if you know it's getting you somewhere, then it makes it easier and it will change. And what I love here is you talked about that while I was already thinking about it. That makes sense. The other thing is I love the idea that you talked about other power supporters or suppliers. Absolutely, they're going to want your skills. You've got to go find Eskom's competitors. Then the next thing is that, and you see I'm like talking so much and then I lose my train of thought. Oh, okay, I forgot. And in any case, so when you guys create your strategy, it's good to start with places you'd love to work. Then, you know, you can have like a backup plan. Some people say, if I can't find a job here, I will go to London or whatever. A backup plan is fine, but if you do this properly, you're not going to need a backup plan. So don't even put a backup plan there now. Trust me, nobody I coach, nobody isn't successful in finding a job. Oh my gosh, that's a double negative. But there will be 2 or 3 people a day sending me an email saying, thank you so much, I found a job. And how you do that is you guys will just do that, you know, the application. Whereas if you do it properly, you only have to apply to 3 places and you'll get a job. What does properly look like? There. Voila. If you get that far, I will, and you haven't got an offer, I will phone that CEO and say, excuse me. All right. So now, Amy, I'm saying Amy, Thandeka, I'm talking super quick because we've got lots to cover. And so I'm being a bit abrupt. The other thing is I'm pushing you. You're very brave because I'm being very authentic and I'm asking you for stuff that might be, you know, hard to talk about. At any stage, whenever you feel like you want to hand over to someone else, let me know. You're not in the spotlight forever, okay? You're very brave.
No, I'm
and
fine.
If you want to,
Sorry.
If you want to take a break, good.
No,
Anytime
I'm fine,
you want to
Tracy.
take
I think for me, it's going to also help me grow. It's not just because I wanted to be popular. For me, I'm at a point where I'm frustrated where I am. So hence I decided, you know what, let me volunteer so that I can learn. Life coaching, it works. I think for me, it works well so that I can really improve on what I need to improve on. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to push you though, all right? I'm going to push you. And what I was saying is if at any stage, so Amy's going to step in, boom, but I'm going to push you. I don't think we'll need Amy to step in. Okay, so where do you keep track of how many jobs have you applied to?
Well, recently, this year, I've applied only for 6 jobs using LinkedIn.
And where do you keep a track of that?
Well, I'll write on my notebook.
So you've got a notebook, okay, and you say company, what role, what date you've applied, you kind of track it like that.
Yes, I've also started now that, okay, I've applied for about 10 positions, but the 50%, I started entering it on an Excel spreadsheet where I'll say I applied on this date, no response. Well, I like what you mentioned earlier that you need to check if you're not getting a response, contact the company. I haven't had the courage to do that. With Nedbank, I've applied for 2 positions, which they responded to say that no, I did not pass their first selection process.
Okay. All right. So already that's a big step forward. So most people say they don't track it or they just kind of keep checking by LinkedIn or their company profile, what. So the fact that you've started doing that is important. One of my clients earlier today, he is like a pilot, and he's this and that and project manager. He's clearly one of my older clients, but not as old as me. However, I said, you're this sort of person where you are running projects. You've got he's an architect of blah blah blah. And I said, but the most important thing in your entire life is you and your job, and you don't even have a note. And so what we're going to do now is, you can see I don't love capital letters. It's my thing. All right, I want you to tell me, apart from Nedbank, I want you to tell me two others that you have applied to.
I've applied to ABSA. They had the key accounts manager position. And I've also applied to MTN. It was a similar position, key accounts manager. In both the positions, was expected to manage their key customers, which was their big customers, where MTN was supplying certain, well, they didn't mention the company, but certain companies with either Wi-Fi. So it was a matter of, it's similar to more or less what I'm doing at Eskom, where I look after the key accounts. But it's
perfect.
I'll say not at Eskom, it's
that's
at a
all
professional
I need.
level. Yes.
That's all I need for now. So you've applied, if you think of this here, you've applied to ABSA for key accounts manager. Any other jobs?
ABSA and also Nedbank for senior key accounts manager.
Yes, senior key accounts.
Yes.
Is it a managerial role? Like, would you be have a team?
Yes.
Okay, so it would be key accounts manager. Okay, and then you said there was another job at Nedbank?
I'm trying to remember the name. It was
You
I can't recall.
You're telling me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies on the planet that you've applied to, saying, Tracy, I've been applying since 2019. I can't find a job. I say, what have you applied for? And you can't remember. So you're not serious, right? If you see my face, I am smiling. I told you it was going to be tough. But for real, right? So it's a point, hey?
Yes. Well, I've also been looking within Eskom for similar positions.
No, you need to leave Eskom, please. You've been there too long.
Definitely.
Once you're in a company too long, and again, it was something that, funnily enough, came up with the client this morning. If you're there too long, even if you are promoted or moved, it's very hard for people there to see you in a different role, but also the salary becomes an issue. So if you are there too long, your salary loses being market related. So now what I want to do is, because I do want it in about 5 minutes time, I do want to take somebody who's currently studying, and so you guys can start planning who you are. Somebody who's currently studying and looking for a grad job for next year, because it's slightly different. So now let us go with which of these do you really want most?
Nedbank.
Nedbank.
Sorry, I muted. Yes.
That's okay. So here we go. First thing, have you signed up? I'm sorry to rush you. I feel so bad. I really feel bad.
No, don't feel bad.
I appreciate you sharing.
I'm here to learn.
So let's go. Nedbank. Have you, when you go, do you like the company, then you go and upload. So everyone, you'll see here on the strategy doc, this is LinkedIn and company portal. So what that means is, as you decide on companies that you want to work for, by the way, the way in which I like to work is not a case of if Nedbank has a vacancy, I'm applying. This is about, I want to work at Nedbank and I'm going to network and find out what opportunities are there. So it's a sort of a different take on finding a job, okay? And you know, people say, wow, I didn't think you could do that, you know, or isn't it rude, or isn't it, you know, whatever. However, if you don't, then you don't have the power. It's up to them, you know. Whereas if you do reach out, whatever happens is within your own power. So here, let us talk about this key accounts manager. What happened there?
I applied for the position.
Okay, when was that?
It was last month.
Okay, and then, okay, so we'll just quickly go back to this because this is what I was saying. So the first thing is you say, perfect, I'm keen on Nedbank, yes. LinkedIn, follow them. And secondly, you go to their website, and where it says careers or whatever, you must sign up. So you create a profile on their company portal, their careers portal. So then that's like tick, tick. Those are the first things. So then, Thandeka, so you said, when was it, last month?
Yes.
Sorry. So what, let's say April, and how did you apply?
I applied on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I saw the
And did it go
position
to their portal, or did it go to like a recruitment agent?
Good question. I must be.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know where does it go to. That's the other thing I don't understand about LinkedIn. When you apply, where does it go to exactly?
Well, let's check. Let's say, okay, if I think of me, let's see if they view, let's see if any of them think that they may like me to work for them. Okay, I'm being very vulnerable here in front of all of you. I mean, what if they say, so say, for example, let's try it like this. Let's go here and we go Ned, okay? You can't tell. I told Amy I needed more than an hour, right? Oh, look. There we go. I told Amy, you're very tough with your time. You see, I can talk for ages. And I'm teasing you. Okay, so now remember what I said on your spreadsheet. You are creating a profile on the company website, and that means you're on their database. So you will get alerts when jobs come up, etc. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're going to LinkedIn follow. So here we go. This is really good because, first of all, you can obviously look for jobs. Secondly, you can go and find people at Nedbank who are doing what you want to do there. So you could actually say, what is your perfect title? Ideal title.
Senior key accounts manager.
Okay, perfect. Love it. I love the senior especially. Okay, so we're going to say key accounts manager, Nedbank. It's so funny. Key account, perfect. Hey, Kathy, let's see. Now we're going to check her out. Marianne, she is. Okay, so now we know Mary Leanne doesn't actually use LinkedIn very much. So it's going to be an absolute waste of time to inbox her because she's only got 174 contacts, right? So that's obviously not something, and she doesn't give her contact details. But what are we going to do? We're going to put her on the spreadsheet. So off we go, and we are coming here, and we no. Please, 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 let me just save this in case it's kicking me. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay, so now we're going to find contact, and we're going to say Mary Leanne, poor lady, she's going to see I'm stalking her. See, so we're going to put it here, although she doesn't use it much, so she doesn't use LinkedIn much, so she probably doesn't have the kind of, you know, the full package. So she's a key account manager. So we've got key account manager. Now, in order to get into Nedbank, so let's quickly do you see guys, you guys will with this strategy, you'll save it on your desktop, and it'll be like if you're a banker and it's your trading, you know, your equity portfolio. You're going to check it every day. So you're going to add stuff, you're going to hustle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's find somebody who's like senior there, because I really think it's a waste of time going to HR or recruitment. They never come back. It's just appalling. I say go straight to the top. Okay, so we've got another person here. While I'm looking at Bongani, do you know anyone who works at Nedbank?
Yes, I've got a classmate which we were together first year at varsity. He is an actual scientist, not actual. He's a computer scientist. No, computer scientist. His name is Mfanafuti.
Spell it for me.
MF ANA, yes.
Mfanafuti.
Yes, let me just quickly confirm his surname.
Oh, Wonder Boy.
Yes, Mlambo.
Wonder Boy.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I hired him.
Wow.
Just, hey, what a small world. I hired that kid off campus. Yes, it can't be the same one. So is it like Malebo or something like that?
Mlambo, MLAMBO.
It's him. Good grief. Okay, so you know, guys, I found this kid, and in actual fact, this is a beautiful story. I'm sorry, Wonder Boy, that I'm telling it, but I found this amazing young man on campus in the career center. I interviewed him. He's such a character, right? I brought him on board at Rand Merchant Bank. They didn't have a graduate program then. So, and I was saying, you know, it's a great way to, you know, bring on young talent and what. And so I brought him onto our winter school. And then at the end of the winter school, when he was one of the, I don't know, 60 kids that were interviewed for a permanent job, and he got the permanent, so he was a grad in our IT sort of business IT. And then during orientation, like the CEO was speaking to all the new grads, and he fell asleep against the wall. So I'll never forget that. Such a character. Okay, so now I'm Mfanafuti. Let's go back here. Bongani, I just want to check the thing. Key account manager. Now, account manager. So what is Mfanafuti's email address?
I don't know it. I'll have to check. I'll have to go to my LinkedIn account and check.
That, yeah, you know why it's nice is once we know one person at Nedbank what their email is, then it's easy because we can kind of guess the others. All right. So
Okay.
is on another note, if you ever want to get somebody's email, what you do is you phone the reception or the switchboard and you say, I'm trying to send Mfanafuti an email, but it keeps bouncing. Can I check? Is it mfanafuti.mhlambo or is it all one word? You got to give them something. And they'll say, no. It's Mfanafuti_. They will always give it to you. Okay, you can get anyone's email because when you message people via LinkedIn, they're not going to come back. You know, I don't even check my own LinkedIn. And then once you find other people, you say, oh, this is Mfanafuti's email. So then these guys must be the same. Okay, so now we're building up a nice sort of, there's always a way. When you guys know, I did say we were going to go on to a student, but we are running short of time, but the principle is the same. If you guys know one person at a company, you have like a step in the door. You can ask them, who's the recruiter? Who recruited you? Who's the recruiter for this area? What's the person's email address, for example? And then, do you see right now, you haven't officially applied for anything because what you're doing now is research. Then, okay, cool, to get a job. Let's talk about this. What was the response?
Unsuccessful.
No. Was it an auto response, like, or was it from a person?
It was an auto response.
Okay, so it doesn't even give you someone's name.
No.
Algorithms, right? So your career at Nedbank was decided either by somebody who was tasked with screening CVs and was having a bad day, or an algorithm. You don't actually know that human being even saw your application. And that means you don't have the power. So what you're going to do is we're now going to go and find, and you know, guys, if you see a role that's advertised, it's very easy to phone into the bank and say, I want to apply for this certain role. Who is the recruiter? I want to send them a mail. You know, you've just got to be strategic. So say, for example, let's quickly go here and we say, recruitment. Let's try recruitment. Okay, lead, to recruitment specialist, Okay, so there's tons. Let's see here if anyone else comes up. You see how I'm looking here? I'm like, I'm looking for info, super fast, talent acquisition, wealth. Which part of Nedbank do you want to work in?
I want to work in the customer services.
Yes. And where does that fall? Does that fall in Nedbank Wealth, Nedbank Retail, Nedbank Investment Bank, CIB? Retail, okay. Well done. I thought I was going to catch you there. I swear I thought I was going to catch you out. But what? Yeah, well done. Okay, so now let's choose Debbie. And we're going to say, and all you're going to do is use Debbie, or use is a horrible word, but whatever. You're going to use Debbie as a contact to open doors to other recruitment people, because she may not even be the right recruiter. But again, you've got an in, you use it. So now we're saying, okay, Debbie, let's put her here. She's the recruiter. You see, post this stuff here just to remind myself. So now we've got Debbie, cool. And then you're going to find her email. Now, what do you actually, I wanted to ask the group, but I've minimized the chat, so I can't even see if anyone's asking. So what you're going to do now is say, Tracy, I want to work, I've given you 6, I think, companies. Number 1 in the entire world is Nedbank, right?
Yes.
Who's the CEO of Nedbank, by the way?
I don't know.
So you're telling me that you want to work for, you've chosen one company on the planet. What's their share price?
I don't know.
What do you know about their, any recent stuff that they've done on the retail side? Like, have you read any, I don't know, like articles, Googled them?
Okay, on during lockdown last year, I used to listen a lot on radio and listen on watch TV in the mornings before I start work. So on Expresso, what excited me about Nedbank is their contribution to the community and also helping people in the midst of their salaries being cut, encouraging people to still save, use the open tax-free savings accounts, and also they contribute to the
here we go. Okay, great. So, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people say that they are big on social responsibility, but ultimately, it's the financial, that's the bottom line. However, the moment that you know something about them, you can then use that as information to prepare. So, in terms of, let's think about this, in terms of Nedbank, whenever, so I'll help you here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to say Nedbank CSI. And what we're going to do is we're going to create for every company that you guys are keen to work at or apply to, you're going to create so I'm just going to pretend, let me make a fake document. Just to show you how, in fact, you know what, I don't even really need to. So here you'll see on your desktops, you'll have that, your strategy doc.
Sorry, Tracy,
and then
I hardly can see your screen. Oh, okay, now I'm fine.
Don't worry. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your strategy on your desktop, and then every company you want to work for, you're going to create a folder. And in that folder, you're going to save every bit of info that you possibly can. Okay. So if they call you, you are, but also when you're applying for a job, so say, for example, you want to work there and it isn't a role. So you want to explore what opportunities there could be. It's a whole lot better to say, dear Debbie, I would like to be a key account manager in your portfolio team. You see, it's so good. So that kind of research makes it so much more impressive than just saying, hey, can I get a job?
Okay.
So to create your folders, now what we're going to do is we're going to say, hi, Debbie. So declined, then nothing, nothing, but you want to work there. So we found Debbie's email, and you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to pretend that you, oh my gosh, look at the time. Amy, do I need to stop?
Not yet. I think maybe we can start wrapping up and going on to questions because there's lots of questions, but I think we should finish going through this process because it's very informative.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pretend that you want to be a key accounts manager and that the role is there, but that you haven't been declined. We're just saying that you've applied, okay? So the job specs there, awesome. Click, click, done all the stuff, you've applied, and then there's nothing. Okay, well, it's not very long after, but you haven't heard anything yet. So what we do is we say, don't only apply via LinkedIn. Don't only apply via the career portal. What you do here is you apply via the regular channels, but you have already gone and found out who the recruiter is for that role. And once you click, apply, then you're going to email Debbie and say, hey, Debbie, I've applied online. I've done it via your portal, but I'm really keen on this job and I want to make sure you see my application. So attach my CVs and my my transcript, what. And then Debbie may ignore you. She may come back and say, I'm not the right person for, the right recruiter for the role. And you say, oh, cool, please intro me by email to the appropriate recruiter and I'll pick it up from there. Don't say forward my stuff to the appropriate recruiter, because then you don't know if she's ever going to do it. So what you want to do is say, intro me by email, copy me, and I'll pick it up from there. So at least you can follow up with the person. Okay, so then perfect, you've emailed that. Now you're saying, while I'm waiting, I really want this job, so I'm not relying on first the algorithm and B, Debbie, who's probably swamped. I'm going to go and find out who's in that job already. How do you find that? You can go and look for alumni of your degree. You can go and look for alumni of your university. You can go and look on LinkedIn for mutual contacts. There's all sorts of different ways that you can, you need to find a point that you can use as a reference when you're speaking to people. So as in, hey, Mfana Futi, you'll probably remember me from Varsity. I have applied for this job, key account manager, but I want to make sure that I'm noticed. And secondly, I want to speak to people so that if I am called, I am well prepared. Who do you think I should speak to? So Wonderboy says, you should definitely go and speak to Bongani. Perfect, thank you. Will you introduce me by email? Great. Hey Bongani, Wonderboy recommended I chat to you. I want to be a key account manager. You are a key account manager. Do you have 10 minutes for a quick Zoom call? I'll bring the virtual coffee. I just want to hear what you do in the day. I want to hear some more. I want to get some advice. Generally, when you're reaching out to people, if you say I'm looking for a job, they'll say go to HR or go to our portal. Yeah, or we're not recruiting. But if you reach out to somebody and you say to them, listen, I'm exploring my next move. I can see that you studied. Now I have to quickly check what your studies were. You studied. Okay, so how about this? You can say to them, you studied statistical research. I see you studied, and that's what I've studied. And I'd love to know how you're applying it there, that kind of thing. They're also always going to say yes, because people want to help. And so then afterwards, you go back, you say, hey, Bongani, thank you so much. And you go back here and you say, hey, the poor lady whose name I'm using. Hey, Debbie, just to update you, I have spoken to Bongani and I've spoken to Wonderboy, and I just wanted you to be updated. I'm sure you'll be in touch soon. You see, like back, forth, work the system. What happens is there's nothing better than you say, I've spoken to all these people now, and now I'm getting ready to speak to the big guy. Speak to the flipping head of department. Go back there. Hey, Debbie, I have connected with Mr. So-and-so, and I don't, I like to keep you updated. I mean, hello, as if that recruiter is not going to see you by then. And the other thing is when you do reach out to recruiters, it's very easy. You stay front of mind with them. If every now and again you pop them, hey, I just love, I've updated my CV on the portal. I wanted to give you an updated copy. Even if you change one letter on your CV, it's updated,
Okay.
right? And you
Yes.
remind them. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you this little story. I was on campus at UKZN. A young man came. I was actually at Westville campus. I was in the career center. I was doing interviews. A young man came in. I said, "Why are you looking so scruffy?" You guys can tell I'm very honest. I said, "Hi, you're looking so scruffy." He said, "I had to walk 3 kilometers because I got a bus from Pietermaritzburg campus and blah, blah." Because obviously we had made a mess because we thought he was at Westville, but he was at Pietermaritzburg, and I was actually going to recruit at Pietermaritzburg campus the next day. So I said, "Oh my gosh, okay, wait till the end of the day and I will take you back to Pietermaritzburg." And he said, "Yeah, I've also got friends who came for interviews. Will you take them too?" And so, and in fact, they were poor students. And on the way I said, "What will you have for dinner?" And they said, bread. So I took them to Steers. So it's like a standing joke. So this kid didn't actually get an offer from R&D. So he did interview, but he didn't get an offer. And he stayed in, well, after I broke the news, "So sorry, you didn't get an offer. Please stay in touch." I actually wrote him a letter saying, "Don't give up on R&B. I still see you being there one day." What happened was he stayed in touch with me. Like I'm telling you, at least an email within every 2 weeks. Suddenly one of the managers comes to me late one night. He's like, "I need someone to sort out this data." I phoned Ndaitso in Pietermaritzburg. I said, "Get into a taxi right now. Be at work tomorrow morning, borrow a tie, sleep on a couch." So he walked in and he was doing some filing. He's now a senior transactor at the bank. And for my last birthday, he gave me a coffee cup with that email that I'd actually written to him saying, "Don't give up on R&B." Okay, so there is all the motivation you need. Questions? I'm just going to put my computer back. So Ames, I'm not sure. So I've hidden my controls for Zoom. So I think I'm going to stop share.
Yeah, I think that'll work. And then I can also just read out questions, but you can also read them if you would like to.
I would actually prefer if you read out some of people, because if I'm looking at the chats, I'm going to sound all over the place.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so there's
Tandeka, thank you.
Okay,
Tandeka,
yeah.
sorry. Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to give you a very hard time. But hey, it's life, right? Okay, questions.
Okay, so there's the first one from Carla, who says, "Could you please give interview tips, especially for shy people?"
Okay, I'm going to try and turn on my click here because I'm in darkness. It's terribly bright, but anyway. So listen, if I were to give interview tips, now that's a whole nother workshop. What I would say, my one word of advice is, put yourself in a situation where you think, this is my company. It's small, I can only hire one person. What would appeal to me in a candidate? And then you do that. So, for example, if you think I'm interviewing for I'm nervous, I don't know what to say, I'm probably not going to do it right or whatever. Think about, what do you think Tracy would actually be looking for? And that will guide you in terms of the way that you present yourself. You're selling yourself. You can choose to be shy or you can choose to get the job. And it's not easy. but always it's like, thinking of yourself on the other side is quite empowering, because you can, another thing that I often say is in an interview, when people say, what questions should I ask, or what do you think they're expecting of me? I often say, picture you in there. So I like role play it with people where I switch it up. And I say, okay, so now you hiring and I'm you. What do you want? It's such a great tip, even if I say so myself. Anything else?
Thank you, Tracy. I think that's all done for Carla. There are lots of other questions, so maybe we can just try to keep them short to get through all of them, because there are
Perfect.
quite a few. So there's one from John Jeffrey Morrison who asks, if you aren't sure about what you want to do, how does one figure it out?
Is that one to do career-wise or study-wise? I'm assuming career-wise.
Career-wise, like finding a different.
Okay. I think it's cool that you don't, well, I think it's completely fine. Not cool because it's stressful, but I think it's fine that you don't, if you don't know. And I think it's okay to take a guess, and maybe it's wrong and you change, and you're allowed to do that, especially while you're young. So that's fine. What I do think is first of all, before applying to jobs, it's quite nice to chat to people who studied what you've studied, who are doing different things at different banks. Or you see, I've been in banking all my whole life. I don't know why I said banks, but in other companies, to kind of hear it. That is going to be the best way. If you say to someone, what is an average day for you? And they talk you through, and you'd be like, I actually like that. Once you have a broad idea, you can always apply. When you're getting interviews, you're going to start to get a good feel for what it is. And it could be wrong, but I do believe that's sort of how you can't know until you're speaking to people. Next one. I'm speeding on time.
Thank you. So the next one is from Marianne, and he says they're in the tourism industry, and they were retrenched in June 2020. And obviously we know the tourism industry is a bit down at the moment, and they have a great passion for their job, but they have to look for alternate kind of opportunities in order to earn an income. So is it difficult to find employment in the tourism industry? And with few jobs advertised, how can I stand out?
So I don't know if it's hard. You don't know if it's hard. Even people in the tourist industry don't know it's hard, if it's hard or not. So what I say there is, again, we can't start making sort of decisions around maybe changing industry or stuff until we know what we're working with. So what I would, is it Marianne, I think. Marianne, what I would strongly recommend that you do is, being in the tourism industry already, you've got kudos, you've got clout and experience that's going to be attractive to others. What I would do is maybe, this is quite a good idea, wherever you worked, think about who were their main competitors, who did they hate because they were like competing, and then you go to them and say, I was retrenched, I am interested in exploring opportunities. Then what happens is you'll get a feel for kind of what's going on. However, even say, for example, with COVID, banks stop hiring. I'm telling you right now, if a quantitative whatever engineer walked through the door, suddenly they would be hiring. So I would never say, oh, banks aren't hiring, so don't apply. I would say stick with tourism, because that's where you actually have some weight that you can use, and just make sure that you find somebody who likes you enough to employ you. You can always then be applying for other things at the same time, but at least just be employed, and it's easier when it's in the industry you're skilled in. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Next question. So how long should an employee ideally stay at a company? From Tracy Lee.
Okay, so for me, when you're young, so say for example, you're starting as a grad, and then So it's your first job, 3 years max. The reasons to stay would be a case of if somebody senior in the company agrees to be your mentor, is there to help you kind of open doors, or if they put in place some sort of development plan, then of course you're not going to leave. It could be 4 or 5 years, it's still worth it. But you don't want to stick with a company too long. There's too many other companies out there to experience. And it was old school to stay in a company for years and years. These days, if I see someone, which is also why I gave Thandeka a hard time, we learn by changing. Our salaries get better and better by changing. I mean, so don't hang around in a job too long. And if they say you're job hopping, shame, it's not their career. Oh, this is being recorded. I'm going to be sued.
And then, so another question from Carla: who can a student ask for a reference letter?
So, I mean, I'm not big on reference letters. I can't tell you when last I looked at one even. I just think it's a load of rubbish. It's just too long. And what are they going to say if you ask someone to be your referee? You know, they're only going to say great things. But if a company is asking for referees, they tend to say, please disclose or please provide the name, designation, and contact information of somebody that we can approach for a reference. Very few, if any, companies actually expect you to send a letter. And fair enough, I'm talking generically. There may be times that people say, I would like you to submit 2 reference letters. Then in a case like that, I think it's important that they be someone you reported to in some way or other. So, for example, a boss who is responsible for managing your performance, then they're going to give a reference that is appropriate in terms of content. So yeah, but I don't think you should, just on references, guys, on your CV, some of you guys put a reference, name, designation, email. That don't do that. It's really, if somebody put my name on their CV and my cell number, they were sending it out to companies, these guys have agreed to be your referees. I wouldn't love that at all. I put at the end of the CVs, the end of my CV template, I say references, ID number, and transcripts upon request. The other thing is, what happens is, you want to be able to phone me and say, Tracy, they're going to contact you for a reference. And then at least, I'm in the loop. Whereas if it's just sort of out there, one quick thing, ID numbers. Don't put the ID numbers on your CVs, hey? It's too risky these days. Put your date of birth, put South African, you can say EE, female, you can say dual citizenship, what, but don't put your ID number. I think we're running out of time.
Yeah, we are running out of time. There are just 2 more questions that I thought were quite interesting that I wanted to ask. So there's one from Caitlin, and she asks, so would we email the recruiter instead of applying, or do we do both?
Very good question. I love that. If you email the recruiter directly, they're going to say, go back and apply. Whereas if you apply anyway and you tell the recruiter, I have applied, however, I want to make sure eyes and not algorithms decide this for me, so I'm also sending it to you. So it's like you cover your bases. And then when you speak to someone in the business, you always say, I have done that. So, there's no chance of them sort of sending you back. So, great question. Definitely do both.
Perfect. And then the next question is from Shannon, and she asks, how do you feel about cold calling and dropping off CVs? Do you think it's an effective way of getting the company's attention? Most of the companies I want to work for are small, 10 to 100 people.
Okay, so by cold calling, perhaps you can, did you say Melissa? I don't get the name.
Shannon.
Shannon, sorry. So Shannon, pop it in the chat. Amy can tell me because I'm not looking at the chat. When you mean cold calling, I'd love to know what you kind of mean by that in terms of going into a company with a CV. So say, for example, picture you guys, you're in a company, you're a manager or an owner of a company, somebody shows up downstairs, they want to see you because they've got their CV. Would that work for you? Wouldn't it? Whatever. One for me is it shows hunger. One thing I wouldn't do though is that's a piece of paper that's going to be hand delivered to someone and land in file 69 or whatever it is. I would, if you want to show up and make an impression, I think it would be so much more impressive to say, do you mind if I stop by the office to give you my CV? Or do you mind if we have a call and then I'll send the CV? Where it's a hard copy CV, it's just that again, your hit rate is literally that one person who may actually resign that afternoon and no one sees it again. So I think it's incredibly important to do it. You know, CVs are going out of fashion though, guys. No, CVs, no one's going to be using CVs. Very, you know, I see it happening now with LinkedIn. That's your CV. So in terms of, yeah, so showing up at the business, delivering in person, you know, I'd say no. If someone showed up downstairs, I'd be like, hello, I'm busy. And then you were saying about cold calling. Do you mean calling up a company and saying, hi, I'm looking for a job?
I think she might mean that, or maybe even just not necessarily calling, but sending an email, just getting somebody's email address off LinkedIn and emailing them and say, hey, was interested in this. I'm not sure if that's what she's asking, but that's my understanding.
And that's kind of, I think I've answered that already in terms of the spreadsheet. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like, oh, they aren't recruiting or they don't have this position or whatever. Don't wait and say, I really want to work for them, but they don't have vacancies. Don't feel bad to reach out. And you know, the topic of this conversation is sort of applying with intent. And that means sometimes it is cold calling. Sometimes it is saying, but you could do it strategically. Like, you know what? I want to work for this company. I'm struggling. Please give me some tips. You know, if you appeal to them, they will say yes. And then at the end of it, that you're going to be like, thank you. What should I do now? And then you take advantage. I have to go. You guys have to go as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Tracy. I did also just want to say thank you to Natasha and for setting up the webinar, and thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. And all of the tips that you shared were really insightful and important, and I definitely think that everyone will be using them. So thank you so much for your time this evening.
Welcome, and thank you for doing this. It's been great working with you, Amy.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you,
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Tracy.
Bye, Tracy.
Fun
Thank you.
jobs.
Bye.